There's the race leader in the ochre jersey, and now as Garmin have decided to launch the attack.
This is a superhuman effort. Everybody trying to break this race up. First time we've seen Lance ride in anger since 05. The peloton totally regrouped. This is Alan Davis, and he's gone very, very early, and he's now clear, and they're not going to get him. Stage 3 of the Tour Down Under is next on Versus. This is Adelaide in South Australia. I'm Phil Liggett, joined in commentary by Paul Sherwin. Today, the third stage of the 11th running of the Tour Down Under. It's another hot one here in South Australia, moving some 10 minutes away from the centre of Adelaide to the little community of Unley for a 136-kilometre race to Victor Harbour. All 133 riders are still in the race, and all eyes are still on Lance Armstrong as he makes his comeback in the race down here in Australia. He started the end of stage 1 in 120th position. He's now up to 68th, and he's still looking very strong. Alan Davis is the leader. He has a time 23 seconds quicker than Lance Armstrong. Yesterday, this is how he won in the sprint at Stirling. It was hardly a sprint, was it? Alan launched for the line, some 230 metres to go, and he won quite clearly. And Robbie McEwen has also been in the wars here. His right arm bandaged after a collision with a spectator. Another crash yesterday. Cameron Meyer crashed on the roundabout here and actually dislocated his shoulder. But brave man he is, he came back into the race okay. He finished the stage despite the pain, and he is on the start line again today. And so at 21 years of age, here he is signing in for his first major race. He rides for the Garmin Slipstream team. And here's a picture of Paul Sherwin as we have a bit of a time warp here. A Tour de France rider himself, now talking to Lance Armstrong.
This is a very difficult race. There's a lot of pressure on you from the press. They want to see Armstrong coming back again, but it's a hard race actually to split up.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see. I mean, I think, you know, some of the questions and the impression has been that I just pick up where I left off. And, you know, even if had I raced in 2006, I never would have picked up January 06 where I left off in July of 05. It's just not, the season's not designed that way. It doesn't work that way. But I've tried to be in shape, tried to be, you know, strong enough to hang on the bunch and be at the front when I could. But yeah, I mean, it's all about setting and resetting expectations and reminding people it's a long season, and it has been 3.5 years. It's been a long time. So it's the bunch is fast. You can't get that in training, even if you motor paced 7 days a week. You can't simulate those repeated attacks and the dynamics of the peloton.
And now it's very difficult to defend a jersey, especially when we're only talking about a few seconds. What's the team's strategy going to be today? Will you try and keep hold of it, or will you look to maybe Team Columbia to do most of the work?
Probably a bit of both, mate. Yeah, we want to keep the jersey going into tonight. But, you know, in the same fact, we just said before, Columbia are in a very good position. I think they're still the favourites to win the bike race. They've got a lot of cars to play. They've got Rogers and Henkapi lurking there, who are very good climbers. Plus they have Greipel, who's second position, who can sprint and gain bonus seconds. So they're definitely the favourites, and we've got our eye on them. But, you know, for the moment, we're in the leader's jersey, and, you know, we're glad to be here. We're going to try and hold as long as we can.
And the route on this third day taking the riders away from Unley, a familiar start town on the Tour Down Under, and heading to a familiar finishing town, Victor Harbour. But the route slightly changed this year, and I think a lot more difficult, Paul, and the wind sweeping in across the Adelaide Hills today.
Yes, I think the riders are going to be happy with the slightly chillier conditions. We're below 30 degrees Celsius today, but it is the wind, I think, that's going to be the major factor, because it really is howling. You can see the flags there right in the start in Unley, but I have to say, Phil, out on the course, it is roaring.
12 kilometres of neutralised riding to clear the city streets before we start the race today. And in the ochre jersey for the first time is Alan Davis. but a very scant lead indeed. Just a few seconds over Graham Brown, no gain at all over second place Andre Greipel, and in fact right down to Lance Armstrong, who's 68th and only 23 seconds behind Davis. So there's nothing in it at all.
10 or 11 kilometres of neutral to get the riders safely out of town, and there's the race start proper. The red flag has been pulled in, and the difficult start today as well, Phil, is this race goes almost immediately uphill.
It's an absolute scorcher here in Australia as the riders try to pace themselves through the heat. We'll take a break and be right back. Welcome back to stage 3 of the 2009 Tour Down Under. Today's stage, 136 kilometres from Unley in the streets of Adelaide to Victor Harbour on the coast. And straight away, and I think we expected this, the attacks are coming thick and fast.
Well, that was a rider from Silence Lotto making the move at the front there. That was Tom Stubber, and I think everybody realises that if they can get over the top of this first climb of the day, we could really get the race completely and utterly split to pieces. About 5 or 6 riders now, Phil, starting to form at the front end. You can see the wind is coming from the right-hand side of the riders, and that echelon, that diagonal line at the front is an indication we're in for a hard ride.
The strong men are at the front, the rest are simply grovelling in the left-hand side of the gutter there. It is a very, very difficult way to race.
Well, I noticed Wellesley Salzberger was in that move there, Phil. He was comfortably ensconced in the leading group of riders and trying to get across there. I just noticed, I think that was Christian Kanies, the rider from Milram. He's at around about 50 metres.
Yes, it was indeed. And now Case Dupont trying also to move into the action. We're building up quite a lead group here, and this should cause concern to the big men, as this is quite a long, very good road surface just here, but it won't be the same once they go over the top, and the road becomes much narrower. As you can see here, they're trying desperately to break the grip of the peloton very early on today.
Well, what's happening here, Phil, is that a number of groups forming, getting caught and going away again all of the time. Again, it looks to me as if Tom Stubber there, number 37, he's looking for the breakaway. I think he's obviously been told by team manager Henrik Redant, watch for the early breakaway here this afternoon.
Yes, Tom is never present in these moves. That's Mathieu Perget of the Case Dupont, a Frenchman on the Spanish squad who's just joined on the back.
Another Frenchman there as well in second position. That's David Moncoutier, a man who's won 2 stages in the Tour de France and used the Tour Down Under last year to find himself back into form, and he rode exceptionally well at the Tour de France.
There's Lance Armstrong too, also speeding up. 51 is Stuart O'Grady, who's having a marvellous opening to this Tour Down Under. Remember, he won into Victor Harbour the year he won this tour. Latch onto the back too, Michael Rogers, another big favourite, number 3, and it wouldn't be the same without a Uni SA rider, and that's Simon Clark latching on. Well, this rider, is the main group here, Paul, has split up. Now, we're hearing on race radio there has been a fall. Davis was said to be involved in it and is back in a chase group and looking very concerned.
Well, this is the 4th group on the road, and I make it approximately 3.5 minutes behind the leading group, so this is a disastrous day for his first day in the ochre jersey for Alan Davis.
And we're only a few kilometres into what is going to be a very tough day now. He's only got a couple of seconds. He's out of the ochre jersey altogether. Now we're going back to the crash scene here, and this is a very sad sight. Andre Greipel, the winner last year, the doctor there is trying to actually put in his dislocated shoulder, and as we leave him behind, this really has thrown the cat among the pigeons, because we've got Lance Armstrong, Michael Rogers, David Moncoutier among a whole host of riders up front.
Charging through the Adelaide Hills. Look at that, we're touching a speed here of 100 kilometres an hour, and in old money that's 62 miles an hour. These riders are plummeting down these descents, taking all kinds of risks. Currently the race is split into 3 separate groups. The leading group of 14 riders with Lance Armstrong, a group behind of around about 80 riders, and still Alan Davis further back in another group on the road.
So the breakaway group is looking strong. Can they make it to the finish? We'll find out after the break. Well, this is the only monitored climb of the day. Well, one more after this at Crow's Nest. This is Wickham's Hill Road here, 31 kilometres. Over the top of the peloton, in that group down below with the hairpin to come, is the ochre jersey of Alan Davis. He's getting back, but what a fight he has had.
Yes, but they're looking for around about 1.5 minutes once he gets himself back into the main field, Phil, to catch this group, which in fact is 16 riders, but one rider has been dropped on the ascent of the climb, and that's a bit of a surprise that Luis Leon Sanchez, the man who's won this race in the past, has slipped away.
Well, we believe that's because of a mechanical problem, but we're not too certain on that as we get up towards the summit here now. This is turning out to be quite a steep climb. Irizar, who won the climb yesterday, has just taken this one out from Thomas Rorega. And there he is. Good ride by Michael Irizar. So far, the Euskaltel Euskadi riders have won all of the mountain prizes.
Look at that again, and look how easily he got that King of the Mountains point. I have to say, Phil, this is one of the great teams of the mountains, especially in all the Grand Tours. Well, I think the big disadvantage for this breakaway, Phil, at 1 minute and 45 seconds advantage is the fact that there's not one rider in here from the Rabobank team from Holland, but also the team of Graham Brown. They've completely and utterly missed out. They are the team who are doing the bulk of the pacemaking on the front end of the main field, with, of course, Garmin, who've come up to the front to give them a little bit of a hand. And every now and again, I've noticed that Case d'Epargne, having lost Luis Leon Sanchez from that leading group earlier on, because there's a crash.
That's happened again in the centre of the field. Now, the conjective opinion is it is the wind sweeping across the course. It's causing the riders to fight for wheels here. And this is a big pile-up of riders. I don't think we've had so many crashes in any tours down under before, but they're getting the men away now. But this will split the chase up.
But also a lot of these riders feel under serious amounts of pressure to stay at the front end of the main field. This looks very much to me as if this is one of the riders from the new Fuji squad who's gone down there, and I think that may well be Hilton Clark.
Yeah, I think it was Hilton Clark that's gone down. That's a shame, because Hilton looks a little bit injured there, but there were a number of riders down. We've already lost Andre Griepel today, who went out early on. We're coming up to the sprint at Meadows now. Important sprint this. For the first time, these small time bonuses could count. 3 seconds, 2 seconds and 1 second. First 3 riders over. Matthew Wilson is lining up behind Simon Clark here. That's a good place to sprint from. Stuart O'Grady, 3 seconds could make all the difference. Could put him in an ochre jersey tonight as they split up chasing the bonuses here. They're going for the line, but it looks as though Matthew Wilson, the former champion of Australia, is going to take it out. Perfect lead out. He gets it. O'Grady will be second. Michael Rogers gets a valuable 1 second in third.
I tell you what, these guys know that the Tour Down Under can be decided by seconds, and that's why they're going out battling for these points. The main field, Phil, is still locked in at 1 minute and 40 seconds. They're not giving this breakaway any freedom at all. This is going to be a long, hard day in the saddle.
Well, this is an unbelievable chase here as we race towards the Florida Peninsula. This wind is ripping across the field. As we pull back here, you're going to see the riders in diagonal formation. There are the peloton. The wind direction coming from right to left.
Well, I tell you what, Phil, that is not the full peloton. There are not a lot of riders in that group. I would say there may well be 30 riders. Let's not forget there was 133 riders started the stage this morning.
One has to remind ourselves that this is very Dutch weather today with the high winds.
Well, they're specialists. This is an ex-sprint and an important sprint as well. We're in Gowler here.
Well, this is Gula actually, Paul. 92 kilometres covered here. The breakaway is dangling. The field are not far behind, but the leaders are surviving. And this time, this is going to be 3 seconds to Stuart O'Grady. Wilson will have to be content with 2, and Michael Rogers, another 1 for him. So O'Grady now has collected 5 seconds of bonus. He could be thinking of the ochre jersey as leader tonight.
Well, this is the Stuart O'Grady who, before the start of the Tour Down Under, Phil had said to us, mate, my form's not very good at the moment.
Well, surprised as he is riding superbly, and there's no better time than when you live in South Australia. In fact, the race started today less than a kilometre from where Stuart O'Grady lives near Unley. Well, it's all over. As soon as they came through that sprint, they looked over the shoulder. The peloton were on them, but it's, as you say, Paul, not everyone.
Not everyone. There's 4 riders who have decided to insist a fraction, but I think they're just delaying the inevitable. Simon Clark is one of those riders there for Uni SA on the front end of the main field. Remember, you can see as well Matty Lloyd. He's looking over his shoulders, shaking his head a fraction. I think he felt today he had a very good chance, and I, for one, was absolutely certain that that break was going to succeed.
I completely agree, and Irizar is also. These are just trying to make something, but it's not going to happen now, because the Rabobank riders are not going to let loose anybody else. They've done well to bring them all back, and this is the final shutting down of what was a tremendous pursuit which lasted for over 45 kilometres. Terrific racing.
Well, I think Mr. Armstrong on the right-hand side, number 11 there, I think he's enjoyed his Tour Down Under today. I think it was the first time we saw a little bit of a test, and Alan Davis pulls himself back into the lead.
Now, as we leave Goolwa, we head out over the hills again. The last climb of the day will be over Crow's Nest, and then we'll turn, and when we turn, we're going to pick up a horrible headwind. This is not an easy ride at all, but somebody's decided to hit them while they're going back to have a little rest, and that is the way to go. And that looks to me like the figure of Cameron Meyer, the man who yesterday dislocated his shoulder when he crashed on the roundabout in Stirling. He lost an enormous amount of time, and for that reason, Paul, they might allow him a lead.
I have a feeling there's another rider actually slipped up the road as well, because looking up the road from the helicopter, yes, there is another rider in all of that confusion has managed to pop off the front end of the main field. It, from this altitude, looks like a rider from Silence Lotto.
Well, they have been every move today, Silence Lotto, the Belgian team. Riding with the shoulder shape here. This is Glenn Dollander, who's up on the lead. I always call him Glenda. He doesn't like me saying that. Anyway, Cameron Meyer is going to join Dollander, and this could be a good breakaway. Now, Dollander has been pretty much a regular here throughout the history of this race. He's finished 9th and 10th overall in the past. He's being joined by Cameron Meyer, and these are two riders who will not be marked quite as closely as the likes of Lance Armstrong, Michael Rogers or Stuart O'Grady. So as they race off into the horizon here, they've got about 20 kilometres or so still to go, and two are better than one. And up comes Cameron Myers. He joins now Glenn Dollander. Two riders racing for the stage win, not so much thinking of the ochre jersey. They may have hit this just right, because the field behind haven't at the moment got any real reason to chase, so they've got a real chance. Well, as you can see, the peloton now has shrunk in size, but the wind is still whipping along here as they're trying to come down into the finishing line together. But it's only the strongest riders surviving today, and surviving, I think, is the word now for Glenn Dollander and Cameron Meyer as they climb the last hill of the day, Crow's Nest.
Hard to believe this man Cameron Meyer was on the ground yesterday. He was in serious injury, and now he's up and fighting, and he's putting pressure there on the Belgian rider Glenn Dollander. He is not able to take the pace of this final climb of the day, Phil, and I have to say I'm not surprised, because this has been an incredible stage.
Age giving way to youth here, 21 years of age just a few days ago. Cameron Meyer, lying on the road in Stirling with a dislocated shoulder, is now trying to take out stage 3 of the Tour Down Under.
Another interesting move at the front end of the main field. You may well have just noticed as they started the climb, it was the team in the black and red jerseys of Case d'Epargne coming to the front to set the tempo.
Well, they'll try to close this down. Once over the top of this climb, they'll have completed 116 of the 136, and now that's the professional way to take a drinking bottle over the top of the climb. And now Cameron Meyer, it's not all downhill, but what's making it worse now, Paul, he's going to turn into this wind even more.
This wind has been buffeting the riders all afternoon and made it very, very difficult indeed. That is the main field, or what's left of it. There's around about 50 riders being left behind the main field this afternoon because of the severity of the chase and because of the severity of the race in these difficult crosswinds.
Yes, and the crashes have unfortunately have been caused, they think, by the size of the rims on the bicycles. Here comes the catch, and they've come back at such a quick speed here. It's all ended so quickly now, and what is left of the field is around about 50 riders in this group. They're going to go down to the finish, I think, together. 9 riders so far dropping out today, including Baden Cook, the top sprinter from Australia.
Lance Armstrong, wearing number 11, I think has enjoyed his day in the Tour Down Under on the third stage here this afternoon. He was in what I thought was a race-winning move earlier on today, but nobody was giving out any free passes in the Tour Down Under. Now it's going to be down to the sprinters. You can see the organisation. That's Saxo Bank on the front. That's the team of Stuart O'Grady. O'Grady will be looking to try and outfox this man, Alan Davis, the man who's scrambled himself back into the overall lead. But Phil, the top 3 or 4 riders are still only separated by seconds.
Well, O'Grady has picked up 5 sprint bonus seconds today, and that's put him right up in the hunt. It could go down to the man who wins the stage, becomes the new leader of the Tour here. As they come through the chicanes, they're lining up now for the finish here in Victor Harbour, which was such a good occasion for Stuart O'Grady in 1999. Now, can he repeat and pull on the ochre jersey? Because for sure he's going to have a go at this one. Very tricky approach this. That 1 kilometre to go, they make a sharp right turn now. They go through the S's with a sharp left, and then they line up for the finish. It's caught a few riders out in the past. Let's hope it doesn't do that. We've had enough crashes today. There is the right-hand bend now. Our camera trapped to the back along with David Moncoutier here, number 71, but we're round the corner. Now we'll see the far left turn, and then they'll have a straight run at the finish, and they'll be wanting to know the direction of the wind. Well, it'll come off the sea on the right shoulder there, as they line up for the line now. Now we get a chance to see who's coming off that bend. Big George Hincapie is in the mix there. The Rabobank boys are trying to get Graham Brown through. Breaking on the far right is Luis Leon Sanchez in the black. It's shoulder to shoulder. Sanchez comes on now. Brown comes through, and with him is Alan Davis. Alan Davis, who fought his way back in, but Brown is too good. Graham Brown gets the stage win. The bonuses will decide the next leader. Davis is second. O'Grady has hit the line. I am not surprised that he is so happy.
Well, have a look at this again, Phil. There you can see a clear win by Brown. Davis is second, and then the lunge for the line on the far side. It's Stuart O'Grady getting himself third place, and that will put him right up amongst the leaders as well.
And he's just pushed out George Hincapie there. Luis Leon Sanchez, Martin Elmiger. There's the sprint again. This is one big one for Brownie. And will it be enough? It'll all go back to count back as to who is leading the race for tomorrow. That's for sure.
No, hats off to my team. This is definitely a team victory. There was an awesome break up the road. Went early, had everyone in it that should have been in it. But I G'd the boys up a bit, and they just rode unreal and put themselves in the line. They'll be coming in about 30 minutes, I think. That
was probably one of the hardest stages I've done here in 11 years. My day started with a crash into a motorbike with Andre Greipel. I was just following him, and there was a parked motorbike on the left-hand side, pretty much in the fair bit in the road. And Andre, I knew he was going to hit it, so I moved over to the right, but he hit it, and his bike just flew out in front of me and Stephen, Nick Roach, and we both went down.
Yes, a great win by Graham Brown, who gets a 10-second bonus there. Alan Davis, who's second, gets 6 seconds. Stuart O'Grady picks up 9 seconds for third place. The other place is Hincapie, Sanchez, Elmiger. And on count back, it is Alan Davis who keeps his jersey 0 seconds, but that doesn't matter. At least he stays in that ochre jersey for tomorrow. And Graham Brown breathing down his neck. So too Stuart O'Grady, just 5 seconds back for Stuart. Well, that's about it for today's stage. Join us again for all of the action tomorrow. Coverage will begin at 4 p.m. Eastern, only on Versus. For a full schedule, log on to our website at versus.com. For Paul Sherwin, I'm Phil Liggett saying so long for now, and we'll see you again soon. Goodbye.